Welcome back. We saw a number of political careers snuffed out this week because of sexual harassment, and we're going to be talking about that in just a few minutes. But first up is the special election in Sarasota to fill the House seat left vacant by Alex Miller. The field is set this week. Democrat Margaret Good handily defeated Ruth Giuliani. Good will face Libertarian candidate Allison Foxall and Republican James Buchanan, both of whom did not have primary opponents. Good news, we're going to have a debate. January 30th, right here at the Trapezoid. Margaret Good and Allison Foxall, they're all in. James Buchanan. James, we haven't heard back from you yet. Buchanan's campaign has said he won't be doing any debates or joint appearances with the other candidates. Really? What's up with that? Joining us for more is Jack Brill, the vice chair of the Sarasota Republican Party.
Shut up.
Kevin Griffith, the vice chair of the Sarasota Democratic Party. Zach Anderson, political reporter for the Herald Tribune. And Mitch Perry, political reporter for FloridaPolitics.com. Jack, I mean, a lot of people are talking about this around town. James Buchanan initially was going to be at the Tiger Bay Club yesterday, and then he backed out of that. What's going on here? The questions you hear are, you know, is he not prepared? Is he frightened to debate his opponents on television? Is he scared, uninformed? Does he think just because he has the last name Buchanan and his dad is the congressman,
Not at all.
he doesn't have to debate, that will carry him over the finish line? What's going on?
James is very prepared to run this race. He is out knocking on doors. I will use Margaret's answer yesterday at Tiger Bay, where she said when she wouldn't debate Ruta.
I was going to get to that.
And she said, oh, I was out. I wanted to spend my time knocking on doors. Well, this district has 40,000 doors that you have 60 days to come and to be able to go out and knock on and campaign.
You know
James will. I know James will be talking to neighborhood folks, groups, and talking to the folks.
You can't shake the hands of every voter in this district. And you know what? Even if you go and buy a vehicle at Sarasota Ford, they usually let you take the car out for a test drive. You know, Zach, you've seen a lot of races around here. I know there are not debates in every single race, but this is a special election. Most of the time, do you have debates or joint appearances for these kinds of elections around here?
So it's not unusual for candidates up and down the ballot to, to shy away from having a lot of debates if they think they're the front runner, if they think that, they have an advantage over the field. Oftentimes they try and limit these types of events because they don't want to slip up. They don't want to give their opponents ammunition to use against them. But it's pretty unusual to not do any debates at all, like Buchanan has said he won't do, and that has opened him up to some criticism. As you said, people have suggested, asked him why he won't do these. But his opponent, Margaret Good, she's been called a hypocrite because she actually, wouldn't come and do a debate on this show, so that she's, taken some criticism as well over that.
Let me jump in. Hold on. Let me start it with a question, because your candidate does not have the high road here, because she was offered an opportunity to debate her Democratic opponent right here on this broadcast, and she deferred. So how do you then demand or shame James Buchanan into debating here?
Margaret Good and Ruta Giuliani were together at forums in over 20.
Not on television.
I introduced them at multiple that had hundreds of people, and she came on your show. Both candidates came on your show. I invite James Buchanan. Let's start at the beginning without Margaret Good come on the show, and then that's a baby step, and then he can take the next step and debate her.
This issue has become significant enough that, Mitch, you are writing about it in terms on your website, which gets play all over the state.
Yeah, it's disappointing because I think as the media representatives of the media, we represent the public in ways, and television appearances or even a Tiger Bay, those are the highest profile events that the public can really get to know these candidates. And it's unfortunate. Zach is right. I've seen it happen so many times where the candidate who's usually leading, many times if it's not in his or her best advantage, they're not going to do it, and the voters usually lose out. There was one exception last year, though. You might recall when Patrick Murphy was running against Marco Rubio for the U.S. Senate. It was Murphy who all of a sudden didn't want to debate Marco Rubio, which was really weird because he was the guy who needed more name recognition. But yeah, I mean, the voters lose basically when this happens.
All right, look, Roy Buchanan has debated every Democratic opponent who has come his way even if those Democrats did not have a legitimate, real shot at winning. You know, the question again is to Republicans out there who want to send a fighter to Tallahassee, don't they have a right to see their candidate debate the issues and see how they're going to perform against political opponents?
The Buchanan campaign welcomes all inquiries for James to meet constituents, to come speak at their, neighborhood groups or, whatever the venue may be, homeowner associations. This is a campaign that is a grassroots, ground-based campaign that is there to meet every individual constituent. I apologize.
Hello.
Yeah, God. Meet every constituent possible. And, this is the campaign strategy. They're being very successful at it. James is a very intelligent, down-to-earth.
We have not seen him on television. We have not seen him to debate the issues or answer a tough question.
The tough questions should come from the voters. And then he will be glad. He is answering a lot of questions from a lot of voters, and that's part of the campaign strategy, to get out to meet as many voters and to do, to get across the district as much as possible. And he's got an entire campaign team that's knocking on doors every day.
Alan, Margaret Good is a candidate and will be a state representative that, one, the people of Sarasota can trust, and two, is so hardworking that she started here locally at one of the most prestigious firms and has worked her way to the top. Her father's a minister. Her mother's a nurse. She's a person that the people of Sarasota can trust.
She's also,
and she's answered the questions.
But
for a primary campaign, she went through a tough primary campaign.
But at the same time, though, when you look at what she's also saying, and she said it at Tiger Bay yesterday, she's also the person that, whether it's federal taxes or our state taxes, she's willing to raise it.
That's not
she said she wanted Medicare to come out of the federal government.
Gentlemen, it would be really good for Margaret Good and James Buchanan and Allison Foxall to debate that right here instead of leaving it to surrogates like yourself. Zach, let me ask you one more question. Who's giving him this advice?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, he does have advisors. He's hired a really well-known political consultant, Anthony Pedicini, who's run a lot of these races. So, he's getting professional advice, and so he must think that this is in his best interest. You mentioned an interesting point. You said Buchanan Sr. often debated his opponents. Oftentimes they didn't have a big shot of winning. It's a lot easier to debate somebody who you don't think can win. That might say something about whether he thinks Margaret
I don't know
win.
where this advice is coming from, but if I was the Buchanan campaign, I would rethink it. James, the trapezoid, the water is warm. We're very friendly here, as you can see. Give me a call. You got my number because I texted it to you. We're just getting warmed up, and we'll have much more in the week in politics right after we check the First Alert weather. Stay with us.